The tipping point. How little things can make a big difference. Malcolm Gladwell. The Stickney Factor. Number 4. Every episode of Blues Clue is constructed the same way. Steve, the host, presents the audience with a puzzle involvement Blue, the animated dog. In one show, the challenge is to figure out Blue's favorite story. In another, it's to figure out Blue's favorite food. To help the audience unlock the puzzle, Blue lived behind the story of Clue, which object tattooed with one of his paw prints. In between the story of the Clue, Steve plays a series of games, mini puzzles, with the audience that thematically relate to the overall puzzle. To the show about Blue's favorite story, for example, one of the mini puzzles involved Steve and Blue sitting down with the three bears whose mouths were porridge have been mixed up, enlisting the audience help in matching the small, middle, and large bowl with Mama, Papa, and Baby Bear. As the show unfolds, Steve and Blue move to the animated set to another, from a living room to a garden to fantastical place, jumping through a magical doorway, leading viewers on a journey of discovery until at the end of the story. Steve returned to the living room. There at the climax of every show, he sits down in the comfortable chair to think, a chair known, of course, in the literal world of Blues Clue. At the thinking chair, he puzzles over Blues 3 clue and attempts to come up with the answer. This much is obviously a radical departure from Sesame Street, but having turned their back on the part of the Sesame Street legacy, the creator of Blue Clues then went back and borrowed some part of Sesame Street that they brought did work. In fact, they didn't move, they did more than borrow. They took these sticky elements and tried to make them even stickier. The first was the idea that the more kids engage in watching something intellectually and physically, the more memorable and meaningful it becomes. I'd noticed that some segments on Sesame Street elicited a lot of interaction from kids. It was a segment asked for it, says Daniel Anderson, who worked with Nickelodeon in designing Blues Clue. Something that stuck in my mind was when Kermit would hold his finger to the screen and draw in animated letter. You'd see kids holding their finger up and drawing a letter along with him. Or occasionally, when a Sesame Street character would ask a question, would hear kids answer out loud. But Sesame Street just somehow never took that idea and ran with it. They knew that kids did this more of the time, but they never tried to build a show around that idea. Nickelodeon did some pilot shows before Blues Clue, where kids would be explicitly asked to participate. And lo and behold, there was a lot of evidence that they would. So putting these ideas together, the kids are interested in being intellectually active when they watch TV, and given the opportunity, they will be behaviorally active, and create the philosophy for Blues Clues. Steve, as a result, spent almost all his time on screen talking directly at the camera. When he enlists the audience's help, he actually enlists the audience's help. Often, there are close-ups of his face, so it's as if he's almost in the room with his audience. Whenever he asks a question, he pauses, but it's not a normal pause. It's a preschooler's pause, several bit longer than any adult would ever wait for an answer. Eventually, the unseen studio audience yells out the response. But the child at home is giving the opportunity to shout out the answer of his own. Sometimes Steve will play dumb. He won't be able to find a certain clue that might be obvious to the audience at home, and he'll look beseechingly at the camera. The idea is the same: to get the children watching the verbally participate, to become actively involved. If you watch Blue's Clue with a group of children, the success of this strategy is obvious. It's as if they are a group of die-hard Yankees fans at the baseball game. The second thing is Blue's Clue took from Sesame Street was the idea of repetition. This was something that fascinated the CTW pioneers. In the 5 pilot shows, Palmer and Lasher took the Philadelphia in 1969. 3 was a 1-minute bit called Wanda the Witch, and used the W sound over and over. Wanda and Witch were a wig in a windy winter and in Washington, etc., etc. We didn't know how much we could repeat the element. As I said, he put it in 3 times on the Monday, 3 times on the Tuesday, 3 times on the Wednesday, left it out on Tuesday, then put it right at the end of the Friday show. Some of the kids toward the end of the day, Wednesday, were saying, not Wanda and Witch again. When Wanda the Witch came back Friday, they jumped and clapped. Kids reached a saturation point, but then nostalgia set in. Not long afterward, and quite by accident, the Sesame Street writer figured out why kids like repetition so much. The segment in question this time featured the actor James Earl Jones reciting the alphabet. As originally taped, John took long pauses between letters because the idea was to insert odd element between the letters. But Jones, as you can imagine, John caught such a compelling figure that the Sesame Street producer left the film as it was and played it over and over again for years. A letter A or B, etc. would appear on the screen. There would be a long pause, and then Jones would boom out the name and the letter would disappear. What he noticed was that the first time through, he would shout out the name of letter after Jones did. Sam Gibson said after a couple of repetitions, they would respond to the appearance of the letter before he did, in the long pause. Then, with enough repetition, they would anticipate the letter before it appeared. They were sequencing themselves through the piece. First, they learned the name of the letter, then they learned to associate the name of the letter with its appearance. Then they learned the sequence of letters. An adult considered constant repetition boring because it requires reliving the same experience over and again. But to preschoolers, repetition isn't boring because each time they watch, sometimes they are experiencing it in a completely different way. At CWT, the idea of running through repetition was called the James Earl Jones effect.